Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Welcome to r/TodayIF, the place with just about the funniest stories on all of the internet. Now, for some reason, as good as these stories are, the YouTube algorithm absolutely hates them. They do really badly compared to my other videos. Honestly, no idea why, because the stories are absolutely awesome. But if you wouldn't mind going down, quickly hitting that like button, that would be greatly appreciated. But with that said, I won't waste another second and get straight into this first one by user/DreadPirateT. I needed to get my next door neighbor's kid and long-term tech apprentice out of the way yesterday. If you check my post history, you'll see I often mention my next door neighbor's kid and good little buddy Chaz. He's been hanging around helping me out for close to 5 years now, and I had a small crisis of conscience about how hard he works and how much I've profited from his help over the years. Well, repaying him has taken two parts. I gave him £3,500 about a week ago from the sale of a car we worked on. That's about $5,000. He was insanely happy, as I guess that's a huge chunk of cash for a kid. The other part was a Peugeot 206cc I bought as a birthday present for him. His birthday is next week, and the car is an absolute wreck. Doesn't start, can't be towed. It cost me virtually nothing. And I'm going to spend the next couple of years working with Chaz to get it running perfectly, so that he can have a car when he turns 17. My friend DTP was dropping the car off today, and I needed Chaz out of the way, as even when he's not in the workshop with me, he seems to watch my place like a hawk. New stepmother and sister, and he prefers to hang out at mine than deal with the BS at home. I opened the shop and started working on my current project at 11 AM. And as expected, by 11:15, he'd arrived and started helping. As a growing kid, there's one guaranteed way of getting Chaz to do anything I want. Food. As soon as I knew his car was on its way, I suggested a parts run to our friend's place, and a stop off for bacon, sausage, egg, cheese and black pudding rolls at the food truck he loves. Dude was in the car before I'd finished the word egg. My daily is an original model Audi TT with a soft top and the upgraded Bose speaker system. As it was a boiling hot day, we put down the top and Chaz instantly began blasting music through the stereo at frankly antisocial volume. He's paired his phone to the stereo and I've given up trying to stop him at this point. We go to see my parts guy, chat for an hour. I have to stop Chaz buying a nudie calendar for the shop. We go to the food truck and buy 2 baguettes the size of my forearm. He inhales his in what feels like seconds, then eats half of mine while I'm still trying to work out how long I'm going to have to spend in the gym to burn off the calories. I text my delivery guy and he tells me he's on the way to mine. But he's been delayed, so he's going to need 45 minutes to get away clean. The sun's shining, we're laughing and joking, so I decide to take the long way home through our local small town to make sure we're suitably late getting back. As soon as we hit the local small town square, we hit the protest. Maybe 80 Black Lives Matter protesters gathered around a young lady with a megaphone, railing against injustice and racial inequality. I have every sympathy for BLM, but as a member of a very small and slowly dying ethnic group, I tend to focus my politicking more on the struggles at home. We're stuck, the people in front of us are studiously ignoring the fact that they're blocking the road, and a white van instantly pulls up behind me, so I can't even reverse back the way we came. I beat my horn to no avail, and quite rapidly start to lose my patience at the people standing in the middle of the road causing what is becoming a traffic jam. I'm scowling and starting to really lose my temper when the people begin to notice us. At first 1, then 2, then 3, and suddenly we're becoming the focal point of the crowd around us. At this point, I'll confess, the visuals aren't great. Chaz looks frankly like a model from Hitler youth propaganda. Blue eyes, blonde hair, and athletic in his AF t-shirt and Hugo Boss slider hanging out the car. Visuals aren't great for me either. I'm 6'2", very well built, shirtless with a massive 2-headed Russian Imperial Eagle tattooed on my chest. Family are White Russian donkos. I'm trying to decide between explaining the difference between different eagle tattoos to the now 20 plus people staring at me, all losing my temper and telling them all to effing move when an alarm bell goes off in my head. And I pay attention to the song we've been blasting at ear-splitting volume for the last 2 minutes. If you're not aware of Sabaton, they're a metal band that makes a variety of military-themed music. I can't say I'm a huge fan, but they've grown on me. Mostly because Chaz has forced me to listen to them non-stop for the last 3 years. The song in question was Ghost Division. The lyrics that seem to have gotten the nearby people's attention heavily mentioned the Panzer Elite and various other Wehrmacht-themed things. It was, to be frank, not a good look. What could have been a very awkward situation was resolved by the arrival of a mob of white van drivers and Sunday drivers who were stuck in the traffic jam behind us and managed to disperse the crowd. So if you see a video of a big guy and a blonde teenager online blasting Nazi-sounding music at a Black Lives Matter rally, please take a moment to appreciate we're not racist, just not very smart. Well, look, I can't say I've been searching the web for a video like this one, but it's not something I've seen, so I think you might be in the clear, OP. There really isn't much I can say other than the fact that you seem to have managed delaying getting home for as long as possible very well. Other than that, yeah, kind of unfortunate. Maybe don't do that in future. And let's move on to the next one by user/Krascal. So this is an old story from when I was about 11, so somewhere in the early 2000s. I was working on my homework in my room when suddenly an unrelated question came to mind. Considering my dad is pretty knowledgeable, I decided to ask him for the answer. I walk into the living room where my parents are watching television. Since this is before you could simply pause your show, or at least before that technology was common, I decide to ask my dad if it's okay to interrupt his show, thinking he would tell me to wait till a commercial or something. Dad, is it okay if you ask you a question? My dad stiffens and slowly turns his head to look at me. He looks a bit pale and stricken. What? I was wondering if you aren't busy, if I can ask you a question. Yeah, just go wait in my room. I happily go to my parents' bedroom, the only other room with a TV, and turn it on as I wait. This next part is my mum's perspective, which she shared with me years later. She was still focused on the show, unaware of my dad and I's conversation, when the TV suddenly turns off. She looks at my dad in confusion and asks what's going on. Without looking at her, he says in a shaky breath, "Our son has questions." She eventually figures that my dad believes I want to talk to him about X, and that he has to give me the X talk. They spend a few minutes discussing what to talk to me about, and preparing for whatever questions I might have. She bolsters his confidence and sends him off to talk to me. I'm watching TV in my parents' room, completely unaware of what's about to happen. My dad enters, turns off the TV, and rigidly sits on the bed next to me. He clears his throat. "Well, son, what questions do you have for me?" "Okay, well, are there number 1 pencils? They've always say use a number 2 pencil at school. But I've never heard of any other number. Do they exist, and how are they different?" My dad slumps over onto his knees. He stares at the floor for a solid 30 seconds of silence. Finally, he takes in a deep breath and sits back up and answers my question. For those who are curious, it has to do with the quality or softness of the graphite in the pencil. Okay, cool, thanks Dad. I stand up to leave, but he puts a hand on my shoulder to sit back down. Wait a minute, there's something else I wanted to talk to you about. He proceeds to give me the X talk. It wasn't anything overly graphic, focusing mostly on puberty and biological changes I can expect. But it comes so out of left field for me that I am completely bowled over. He finishes talking and asks me, "So, do you have any more questions for me?" I reply, "No more questions," as I shuffle back to my room. I sit down at my desk and stare at the pencil that started this, while I can hear my mum's cackling laughter in the living room, as my dad tells her what happened. Look, I like your dad's efficiency. This man wasn't wasting time. He was already prepared to give the talk, so he just flat out went and gave it, irregardless of what you wanted to ask. At least I guess you got your question about pencils answered. Though yes, you did definitely get a bit more than you asked for. And here's our next post by user/Barsoom This was a few years ago. Took the family to Ginny Springs, a beautiful Florida water spot for a day of swimming and a little picnic. So I was swimming in the crystal clear water, watching my son floundering around in his water wings, and just having a good old time. My son suddenly stopped, pointed at the water and said, "Look, Daddy, a lizard!" I looked over and saw that no, it was not a lizard that was swimming over to us. It was a snake. After a quick examination, I realised that it was a water moccasin, and a large one at that, heading right for us. So, yelling for my son to back away, I waded out to grab him and drag him back to shore. The snake was making a beeline for us, which is weird because most of the time they avoid human contact. I started to splash water at it, trying to slow it down enough so I could reach the shore before it got too close. So, as I was backing up, slapping water at a poisonous snake with one hand and dragging a laughing child who had no idea what was going on with the other, I reached close enough to the shoreline to grab a branch that had fallen from a tree. It was long and pretty sturdy. It was perfect for what needed to be done. So, as the snake got in close, I went all caveman on it and bashed it a dozen times with the branch. It worked. The snake started to float away, dead as a doornail. I then realised that all the people swimming around in this water would not take too kindly to bumping into a 4-foot dead moccasin. So, using the branch, I launched the snake for a stretch of woods off to my right. Well, I guess the snake was not balanced right on the branch, and I was full of adrenaline. So instead of the woods, the snake flew high into the air, drifting off to the right, where, plop, it landed square on a picnic table. To make matters worse, it landed on a pile of shoes that a Girl Scout troop had left when they went wading in the water. "Oh no," was all I could think as I began to quickly swim across the spring to remove the snake from the table. But as I was swimming, I heard them. The giggles and laughter of little 12-year-old girls returning to get their shoes. I stopped cold. It was too late. I began to swim away, trying to hide myself as I saw the first curly-haired head approach the table. There was laughing, there was chatting and talking. Then there was a pause. And that is when the screaming started. If you've never heard a dozen 12-year-old girls scream in horror as they see a large bloody snake draped across their shoes, I cannot even begin to explain the sound. Even as I dove underwater, I heard the screaming. Sometimes, at night, I still hear the screams. And the only thing I can really add here is imagine you were trying to get the snake out of their shoes just as they turned a corner. I reckon that would have been a sight just as horrifying. And you would have had to do a fair bit of explaining. But I guess stuff like this just sometimes happens. That's why we come to this sub. And at least we can now get a good laugh out of it. And here's our next post by user/I'mBubbles. I'll try to keep this short as there isn't much to say. Our medical school class has to do sensitive exams, pelvic, genital, rectal, towards the end of our second year, right before we're allowed to go into the hospital wards. The idea is that these people are paid to have the sensitive exams done. Each person has 15 to 20 students examine them. The vast majority of the time, the people getting the exams done are elderly or former healthcare workers who are comfortable with their bodies, want to help educate students, and make some money at the same time. The patient our group had was an uncharacteristically young woman. She was probably in her mid-20s. This shouldn't have been an issue at all, but my medical school class is very conservative. Nearly half is already married, and the other half is still waiting to have X until marriage. At least 3 guys in my group had probably never seen a vajongo, let alone touched one. This made the experience way more awkward than it had to be for the patient. Anyway, we do the exam, thank our patient for volunteering her time, and leave for the day. Fast forward about 4 weeks to yesterday. I'm at the grocery store buying some oatmeal, and I see a young woman near the cereal. She looks familiar, but I can't quite figure out where I've seen her before. I know with 100% certainty I've seen her, just not sure where. She looks at me and makes eye contact. Not the polite eye contact you make, smile and look away. The type of eye contact where it's prolonged. Like, she was also trying to figure out where she saw me. We both smile, and I walk toward her. The exchange was basically this. Hey, you look super familiar. Where have I seen you before? I was thinking the same. I'm not sure. Are you from insert city we're in? No, I'm just here for school. Oh, I just graduated from local university. What are you studying? Maybe we had a class together. Oh, I don't go to local university. I'm a medical student at a different campus. It was at that moment I realised I had effed up. We both immediately stopped smiling. We both instantly knew exactly where we had met before. I have no idea why, but instead of trying to defuse the situation and acknowledge the humour in what just happened, my dumb, awkward self thought it was a good time to say, wait a minute, this isn't the canned food aisle, and I just walked away. God, please kill me and end my misery. Damn, definitely at least a little bit awkward. It's also interesting how both of you recognized each other but didn't recognize the situation in which you'd met. And yep, that enabled this awkward situation. Look on the bright side, OP, you could have said lots more things that were even worse. I'm not going to be going down that aisle. Sorry, I had to make that pun. But all of you guys probably know what I mean. And here's our next post by user/JackMackerel. The characters in this story are me, father to a 16-month-old, my wife, mother to the same 16-month-old, and our 16-month-old. For the past couple of months, Kiddo's been saying dada or da quite a lot to refer to me. He says it when I walk into the room. He says it when he is my car pull into the driveway. He says it when he wants my attention. 12 times a day at least. Let me tell you, there are few pleasures in the world as great as coming home from work and having a toddler look at you and exclaim, da, with a huge grin on his face. Now, he said mama before to refer to his mum, but it's rare. I know she wishes he would do it more, and I want her to get that feeling as much as I do. So, I decided that I was going to work with Kiddo on saying mama. In my 16 months of parenthood, I've learned that my kid picks up skills okay from watching and listening, but that they stick best when he learns by doing. With this in mind, I've been trying to get him to say mama on his own accord. He has already demonstrated in the past that he knows his mum's name is Mama, so I've been working with that. Whenever she walks into view, I'll excitedly say, "Who's that?" He basically never says that it's Mama, but he does run over and give her a big hug. At least there's that, I guess. After a week of no progress, Kiddo came running into the kitchen yesterday morning, looking right at his mum, gave a big smile and said, "Who's that?" Ouch. Maybe he learns better by listening after all. Imagine being called "Who's that?" by your own kid. Honestly, this is hilarious. It's surprising how much little kids can pick up just by listening. Though UOP now might have to go through a different learning process. You'll have to teach him something completely different. The poor kid might be confused. I don't blame you though, could have happened to anyone. And let's move on to the next one by user/YourEffingEnemy. I don't live in the US, so my native language isn't English. There are some guys from the USA who I talk to while playing GTA on PlayStation. So, we were talking when suddenly one of the guy's brothers came to his room and hit him. Not hard though, you know, brothers. To make him die in the game. It was kinda funny, and we were laughing at him, and he was laughing too. While everyone was laughing, I wanted to say that my brother does it too to me sometimes. So, I said, haha, my brother also beats me off sometimes. So, apparently, to beat off doesn't mean the same as to beat, as you might know. Everybody went silent, and I didn't understand why. Then, one of the guys understood what I meant to say, and said, "Do you even know what beat off means?" And I was like, "The same as to hit?" So, everyone was laughing hard, and he explained to me what it actually means. I was embarrassed and didn't talk much after it. I feel a little insecure now to talk to them as my English might not be good enough. Look, don't you worry, happens to the best of us. I speak English just fine, and I'll still say stuff from time to time then look back at it and be like, what did I say? So yeah, don't worry, keep practicing English. Eventually, you'll pick up on the fine points. It's a hard language, so don't you worry. And guys, I think that post will be the last one for today. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you did, make sure to subscribe to the channel for Reddit videos 3 times every single week. But with that said, that is it from me. I hope you all enjoyed, and all I want to do is see you all here next time. See you later, guys.